All right, multiplying a decimal by a decimal. Same process. We still want to line them up. We want to multiply them, and then we're going to count how many places behind the decimal point to see where we should actually put the decimal. Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite it off to the side. I'm going to put 0 and 9/10 times 0 and 7/10. These just happen to line up with the decimal points, but I don't have to have them line up with the decimal points. So there is just a little bit of a difference. All right, we start on the right-hand side, and you ask yourself, 7 times 9 is what? Well, it's 63. So you put your 3 there, carry your 6 to your next column, and 7 times 0 is 0, plus 6 is 6. And now I don't have to multiply by the 0 because I know I'm just going to get 0. I do have to count how many places behind the decimal point. So there's 1 and 2. That means I'm going to move my decimal 2 places, put a 0 in front of there, so I end up with 0 and 63 hundredths. And you know, that would make sense because if I was going to round these, the first number would round to 1, this number would round to 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. So makes sense that my decimal point would go there instead of 6.3 or 63. So that makes sense. Okay, let's try number 2. I'm again going to choose the one that has more digits on the top, I guess, 0 and 3/100, although it doesn't really matter. 0 and 4/10. Notice this time my decimals don't line up, and that's perfectly fine. And I start from the right, and I say 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. And 4 times 0 is 0. I don't have to multiply by this other 0 because I know they're all going to equal 0. And so now I count how many places behind the decimal. There's 1, 2, and here's another one, 3. So I start at the end and I go in 1, 2, 3 places. So my answer is 0 and 12 thousandths. And look at my numbers. This wouldn't even round to 1, and this is way, way, way small. So it would make sense that my decimal is going to be a very small number as well. Let's try number 3. We have 0 and 2/10 times 0 and 5/10. Again, this one just happens to have the decimals line up. We don't have to have it be that way. We start on the right. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. And now I have 1 place behind the decimal, 1 place behind the decimal. So that means I'm moving it 2 places total. Put a 0 in there. And my answer is 0 and 1/10. Or I can leave that 0 and call it 0 and 10/100. Either way, they're the exact same number. Makes sense because this would not even round to 1. This one would round to 1. And so 0 times 1 would be 0, so it makes sense that that's a small decimal. Let's try number 4 over here. And let's go 0 and 5/10 times 0 and 6/10. They happen to line up, not a big deal. I start on the right and I say 6 times 5 is 30. And 6 times 0 is 0, plus 3 more is 3. I don't have anything else to multiply. I've got 1 place behind the decimal, 1 place behind the decimal. So that means I'm moving them 2 places total. And my answer is 0 and 3/10, or I can call it 0 and 30/100. It's the same. Same. Next one's kind of interesting. If you look at it, we've got 1.0, that's the same thing as 1, times 0 and 5/100. Well, I know anything times 1 is that number. So I don't even have to do any math for that one. My answer is 0 and 5/100. Let's try just a couple more here together. Let's try number 6. We got 0 and 7/10 times 0 and 8/10. We start on the right, and 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 0 is 0, plus 5 is 5. 1 place behind the decimal, 1 place behind the decimal, 1, 2, and my answer is 0 and 56 hundredths. Let's see if there's any others I should maybe skip down to. Let's try number 10, one last one. Number 10 has us taking 0 and 6 hundredths times 0 and 2/10. Again, I do not have to have the decimal points lined up. That's perfectly fine. I start on the right and I say 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, and 2 times 0 is 0. There are 2 places after the decimal. There's 1 place after the decimal for a total of 3. So 1, 2, 3. So my answer for this one ends up being 0 and 12 thousandths. All right, go ahead, try some of these others on your own. Remember, the answers will follow, so you can check out, see if